The 180SX is back. We are back with some RB25 180SX content. This is an import Type X that had a DE engine, so Type S maybe, which I took out and fitted this RB25, but never actually finished. So, you know, whole new year, new me, all that rubbish. Then it's time to get it done. So, first thing we're gonna do is rip the engine out. Seems counterproductive, but there's good reason for it. And it's not because I've got an RB26 sitting over there, that is for something else. That is because when I put this in, I was keen to get all the other bits sorted, and I didn't actually put clutch flywheel in it, didn't do up the sub bolts, didn't do the bits underneath the inlet manifolds. There's a whole load of bits that need to do into it, which is going to be a lot easier without the car, because I have to do all that stuff anyway. Plus, it gives me a chance to tidy up the bay a little bit as well. It's looking a little bit sorry for itself at the moment, all grubby and got a flat tyre. So I'm going to get this all pumped up on the ramp and then start taking stuff off and dropping this engine out. Okay, so nice and simple, we're going to basically undo everything. We'll undo the aircon, undo the clutch and brake lines, because we're going to pull the whole subframe down. So we'll take off the tension rod supports and basically get it to a point. Oh, take off the air filter. Let's take off this and bung that up. To a point where we could just literally drop the whole thing down, out of the way, put the car up and be able to do the bits we need to do on the engine. All right, everything topside is done in the engine bay. Next up is to do the... gear linkage, which I should have done before I put it on the ramp, but at least I didn't forget completely and just start dropping the engine with it in place. So got to drop that off and then car up, rear prop shaft out, start doing a few of the bolts of the subframe and the tension mounts and the gearbox mount. And then we'll sit it down with the axle stands and do the last couple of bolts. Okay, engine is out and gearbox is off, and I actually had a little bit more than I thought going on back here. There is a flywheel on here, which is good. I just need a bit of a clean up on the surface, and there is the pivot point and bits in there. Obviously, we're going to change out the release bearing. So gearbox can do with a bit of a clean up. I found a clutch, but unfortunately, it is smoked. I mean, there's a bit of life, but there isn't really much point putting that in just to take it out again in like 1,000 miles. So stick a new clutch on order, get one in the next couple of days, get that fitted up. I popped off the head drain purely because the piping for it was just too long. So I need to chop that down and redo that with the turbo in place, just so I know that it's not going to interfere with anything else. And then mock up the turbo, make sure all my lines and everything are run the best ways they can be. Remove the aircon off because we're not going to be using that for the moment, and the bracket. Take the power steering pump off just to make it easier to get back in the car, but we will be using that in a bit. Lots of little things to do. Okay, so with the head drain, I've just taken the pipe off of here. As you can see, if I hold it up, well, we were well too long, but I didn't have any of the turbo or anything on when I was doing it, so I didn't have anything to sort of say whether I was in the way for anything. So I thought, it'll just sit there. So what we're going to do is push it up to there. Obviously, this is the line we need to go to because, well, it's just back from that actually. But if we go a little bit further, this is the line we need to go to because this will then push over this and thread in. Once I know where we need to be. I'm gonna whack some tape in the rough area, and then grab a Sharpie and just mark it up where we need to be. There's a few tools you can go for with chopping this. Angle grinder, they do specific sort of hose cutting bits. For this, I'm going to go for the nice and easy B&M's $3.99 garden shears. It's not the best, but we can clean that up and use it. So I'm not going to lie, I actually ended up recutting that with a new grinding disc, with a new cutting disc, and cut it straight across and then cleaning it up, and then washing out anything that was in the lines. Don't use garden equipment, it doesn't work. Time to invest in some proper hose cutters if I'm going to be doing more of this, which I think I am. Okay, the fitting is back on, and well, fingers crossed, hopefully it's not too short because I had to cut it twice. So we'll whack on the bit to the sump first. Right, top one in and bottom one in and caught up. So I'll just tighten both those up, but actually they're gonna have to come back off because I need to drop the sump and seal it up. So, but that's a job ticked off and done. Okay, so we've bashed a new clutch and release bearing in here, some bolts on the top. Somehow I've lost the braces that go here. They're somewhere in the unit, but I don't know where. I'll find them. So what I'm probably gonna do is sort out some bits underneath here that need doing, and then get the engine back in, then put a brace across the top and take the subframe off so I can do all the sump, and I'll do those bits at the same time once I found them. But I wanted to, while it's in this position, just have a look at the wiring. And for that, I need to go to this box here. And we have a full replacement, brand new wiring loom from Wiring Specialties. These guys in Connecticut, USA. So it's travelled quite far. Nice and easy to work with. One thing is just don't phone them if you're on a UK bill, because I got charged 20 quid for a 5-minute phone call the other week. Managed to argue it and get it taken off my bill, so fine. So if you've got a question, give them an email. It's probably going to be a whole lot cheaper. But super helpful guys, and built exactly to the spec I wanted. So we've got all the bits there for the RB into a 180SX auto NA chassis. So they go even as specific as that. So I'm going to pull this out, and we're going to have a look at everything that plugs in, just see where it all plugs in. Okay, so just laying the loom out, you can see all the different components. So we've got the ECU plug here, which is a specific ECU plug for the Link ECU. No idea why they do that rather than as the Link is a plug and play, but yeah, it's specific for when you've got a Link ECU. This is the plug for the dash. This goes to, I'm guessing, your ancillaries like, oh, here we go. ABS sensor, won't need that one. AC, we'll need that one eventually. Getting wipers. That doesn't say on there. I'm guessing that's sort of wiper box or fuse box or something like that. There's even, they've got like link wires here for bits that you can delete off. Just super helpful. And most of the stuff is marked that could be confused with more than one space. We've got the injector plugs, which I asked for the EV1 style plugs. Now I might actually change that, but I could do that with an adapter, so that's not an issue. Got these for the knock sensors. I mean, if I just grab, I don't know, coil 1, air regulator, you know, all these bits, just all in up in the right position. It's all nice and sealed, so that's all good. So I'm going to start wiring up some of the bits on the engine, and we just then pop it on top and lay everything out to anywhere else once the engine is in the car. Okay, we've got all of that plumbed up there. Obviously the rest needs to wait until the engine is in the car, so so we can plumb up to the rest of the wiring, the ECU and stuff. So it's time to drop the car down. hopefully for the very last time, put the engine back in the car.
Many minutes later.
So we've got the engine braced and the sump off. Obviously I had this off before when I was welding in the bung for the coolant drain, not the coolant drain, for the oil head drain. Obviously this bit here. And what I did, I just put it on to hold it in place to mock everything up. Didn't actually seal it all up, so we're gonna do that now. Just a bit of sealant, no, clean off both these flanges with a blade, bit of sealant around the edge, pop it up in place. We'll actually leave it for a minute to go a little bit tacky, and then pop it up in place. Tractor. And I'll tie it up in a sequence where we sort of start to the middle and work our way outwards, going in a spiral. Same as you'd tighten like a cylinder head or something like that, just to make it nice and even. And actually looking at this might be the kind of cheat code for getting everything on the turbo and everything without having the subframe in the way. We might actually do some of that while we've got the subframe still off. I think that might be the move. Next up I want to sort out pulling apart the front so we can get all the radiator fans sorted. But first I want to show you this part that I vapor honed. Yes, I have a vapor honer now. If I haven't already shown that in a video, I'm sure it'll be coming up in one very soon. We'll go into a bit more detail in that. But this is an RB26 joiner pipe for the twin turbos. And if you can see, there's a cutout on the RB26 rocker covers where it would sit right there. And I think it would look absolutely sick to run this on a single turbo like I'm running. And maybe sort of chop and weld that, make a bracket for it and have that coming through. Definitely something to try and do later on when this is running and working properly. So we'll put that to one side for the minute, but now I'm gonna take apart the front end so we can get nice and easy access to the radiator, because I have to put the fans on with the radiator in situ, because otherwise there's just not enough room to put the rad in. Because of this way this sits, I'm gonna have to use the annoying sort of push through the radiator mounts. I've got these two Spol high powered fans, they're like 1200 cubic meters of air per second or some rubbish. Like more than we need, that's for sure. But I can't mount them on a shroud because the shroud has to go to the other side of it, whereas this you want as much airflow as possible. I can't fit anything here, so it has to go as a push fan on the front. So the twin fans are in. This is the model number if anyone's interested. Fits straight onto a CA radiator, like uprated radiator. And I use these little clips here. They always feel a bit bodged because they're like cable ties basically that go through and hold at the front, but they came with twice the amount of push-ins. I don't know if that's to reuse it or what. So I've used two on each one to hold it in place, and to be fair, that's pretty sturdy. That ain't going nowhere, as I would say. What I might do is just take a lighter and just like burn the end here so it's a bit thicker, so nothing can come off the edge. Might just help protect it a little bit, I don't know, just in case. Okay, so the 180SX is back in its place in the corner, and that's purely because I've got other cars in the unit that need working on, so this has to go back out the way for a minute, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop working on it. Since last time you saw me, we've got all the wiring loom in, some of the intercooler piping, just waiting on the other side. Turbo's on, and all the lines are done apart from the last coolant line at the back there, which runs behind. We've got the seat in and all the interior trim back in, and all the belts and everything tied up at the front here as well. Just got obviously all the wiring to hide and bits, and the fueling system to go on. The next thing I want to do is to actually turn the key. So I need some wiring to go from the battery, which is going to be in the boot, all the way to a splitter, and then to the front, and also to the fuse box here. So what I'm going to do, wiring's always a bit boring, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you it done, because you don't want to see me just snipping wires and soldering. Basically, I need to run wiring all the way from the back here to the front. Obviously got this real cool Carrozzeria subwoofer with all the wiring that comes with that. So we'll run some of that at the same time, although nice and easy for the Live in the Earth because they haven't got to go very far. We're going to run an earth from the battery straight to our chassis. We're going to run a live which runs to a switchable circuit breaker, so we can just click that to disconnect all of our power. We're going to run it to the front, and I can't decide whether to run it down this side or down the passenger side yet, because both sides face an issue. Obviously this side you've got all your pedals and everything, the other side you've got ECU, and I've got other boxes and stuff underneath there. But basically underneath where you can see that that flare down there, there's a box for the stereo and stuff, so there's quite a lot already in that corner. And then from the front we'll go to a splitter. Some of the wiring from that split is going to go over and run our fan relays, so the wiring will then come out and go to the fans, but controlled by the ECU on an earth. Some of the other wiring is going to come to the fuse box at the front here, and the other one is going to go to the terminal on the start motor, and then loop across to the alternator, so you've got your charge wire as well. So quite simply, wire down to the starter, across to the alternator, wire down to the relay box, and wire across to the fuse switches. Right, see you in like 5 hours. Okay, so it's been a minute since I've worked on Chappie, my RB180SX. Let's dust that off for a second and get that out for anyone who hasn't seen it. Just to give you an idea of the timeline where I'm at, the last episode you guys saw was the RB getting ready to go in the R34 that's over there. But I have got the intercooler pipes back now from my good mate Mikey at Bob Dove Motorsports, who has welded up this bung for me. We now have a bung hole for our intake temperature sensor, which is great. So obviously this just needs a bit of paint, and then we can get this front end buttoned up. So I've got this. I've got a can of Monster to keep me going. I've got a test that says I'm now free from coronavirus, which is great. And my taste has come back, which is even better because, oh man, I thought it was never going to come back. Got me worried. So the plan for today is to get this front end buttoned up and the bumper back on. So what does that mean? Well, it means getting these intake pipes in, making sure everything is connected the right way, like our front and rear washers on here, making sure our oil cooler is all connected up properly, and we've got these all nice and tightened up. My only concern was the fittings. They were sort of cheaper fittings, these, and I might swap them out for better ones. But if you saw the video where I took this bumper off, there's like 40 fixings that hold this bumper in place. So I'm not really keen on taking it on and off all the time. So I've got no way of testing those. Basically, if we get oil pressure and it starts pissing out of there, I'll cut back to this clip, and I should have changed them. So I'm going to wax some paint on this to start off with, put a bolt in there so the threads don't get damaged, wax some paint on this, then we can start buttoning this up. The pipe is now sprayed and in place, and I fitted up the air intake temperature sensor in there as well. And I wasn't just sitting around waiting for the paint to dry, I actually wired in the fans. So we've got the twin fan wiring here that just earths onto the chassis here and then runs back into, well, you can see it's all coiled up over there at the minute, just there, but that'll run into the vehicle and to a twin relay, which will be controlled by the ECU. So one fan can come on at one temperature, second fan once it gets to a second temperature. I also built a bracket for the fuse box here, so you can see down the bottom here, this is holding it out of the way, so that this can sit there, and this all is still looking fairly factory, just basically twisted round because the battery would have been there before. I want to test before we put the bumper back on that we've got the front and rear screen washers in the right place. So I've just put a bit of water in there, and first good news is it hasn't leaked, which is great. So I'm just going to hook up this temporary battery. Just hook an earth onto there for the minute, and then I'll live. Go to actual live cable. Things light up, which is good. My Navi screen, which I cracked annoyingly putting it back in. I'm so pissed off about that. So I might try and see if I can find a replacement screen or something for that one, because the ETC speaking to me, because that one's got loads of cool Japanese music on it, and I don't want to change out the stereo. Got to keep it period correct. So, looks like ignition is already on. We want to test out there's no water coming out. It would come out here. So is there water coming out the side there? Did it drip down? So that's the washer there. So it's not meant to be coming front or rear. What's going on there? Right, well, okay. That's the rear one, which is actually doing the front. So there was a 50-50 chance, and it's wrong. I'm going to switch those over. As you can tell by my super clean windscreen and the fact that water has dribbled out of this one here, that's all sorted out. So we've got our oil cooler tightened up. We've got our intercooler in place and all the couplers tightened up. We've got the screen squirters done. There's nothing over here that needs doing. The fans are done. The horns are all plumbed in. I think that's it. I think we're ready to put the bumper on. So I'm going to grab that and bolt a few bits up, and I think that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah, raising the Tobagos, we growing like fresh tomatoes. Them boys on fire, too fuego, we pass it round hot potato. Everything is new wavo, I'm with my sweet.
Well, it's a bit dusty, but it's been a while since it's looked like this. And yeah, I'm pretty damn excited. So all going well. Next video you'll see on this will be the first start, which will be very exciting. There's only a few systems that need buttoning up before then. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Rob, this is Build It TV, we build cars here. This is an RB26 R34 GTT. This is an RB25 180SX. And that is going to be my 180SX drift car. So plenty of content on the channel and more coming. We've got an S12 coming soon. We've got some more Honda content coming soon. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.
I beat my Joby, feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi, cause I'm a star and they can't hold me like I'm Kobe in the fourth. Yeah, nothing is ever forced, we headed straight to the source. No middleman, little man, let me show you if you was lost. It's a couple college courses, but I ain't finished that shit.